Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're tuning into this, you're probably going through one of the absolute most terrifying moments a business owner can face, a completely frozen merchant account. I mean, it is pure, unadulterated panic when the lifeblood of your business, your cash flow, just stops dead in its tracks. But hey, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Today, we're going to walk through exactly how to survive a Stripe shutdown, put together a real triage plan, and get your business back on track.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this. You log in, check your dashboard, and boom! Suddenly you see those two dreaded words glaring at you in bright red. Payments disabled, right? It's just immediate existential dread. Your ability to collect revenue is completely halted, totally without warning, and you're sitting there wondering if your business is even going to survive the week. It feels so intensely personal, like you're being targeted. But as we're going to see, it's actually a highly systematic process.
So here's our triage plan for today. We're looking at decoding statuses, why shutdowns happen, warning signs, an emergency action plan, mistakes to avoid, and lastly, migrating accounts. Let's get straight to work.
Section 1. Decoding Stripe account statuses.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it shows exactly why we need to treat this whole situation like clinical, step-by-step medical triage. We need to accurately diagnose the problem to treat this emergency. So, step 1. What is your exact status? Because this completely dictates whether your money is just temporarily delayed or totally cut off. Let's break it down. If you're looking at a closure, well, your account is done. The remaining balance will eventually be returned to your bank. A suspension, on the other hand, means you simply can't process new payments right now. Then there's a payout hold. This one's tricky. You can still accept payments from customers, but Stripe is pausing your payouts, essentially holding your money in reserve. Finally, a KYC review just means payments are temporarily paused while they wait for you to upload some documents to satisfy Know Your Customer laws. You absolutely have to pinpoint which of these 4 buckets you fall into right now so you know exactly what you're up against.
Moving on to Section 2, the diagnosis. Why Stripe shuts you down?
It's actually super helpful to think of a payment processor's actions like an algorithmic immune response to perceived risks, right? And the first major trigger for this automated immune response is fulfillment risk. Basically, this is just the likelihood of disputes popping up from delayed delivery models. Think things like pre-orders, travel bookings, or advanced services. If your business relies on delayed fulfillment, you're honestly just structurally mismatched with Stripe's expectations. They want quick turnarounds, because you know what happens? When customers wait too long, they get anxious, they panic, they call their bank and file not received disputes. And the second that happens, Stripe's algorithm catches wind of it and immediately flags your account as high risk.
Next up on the diagnosis block is scaling risk. This happens when algorithmic triggers get tripped by sudden, massive changes. Maybe it's a huge spike in your transaction volume, a jump in your average order size, or suddenly you've got this massive influx of cross-border sales. And man, this presents a painful irony for business owners. Why? Because a wildly successful product launch or an amazing marketing campaign can look exactly like a massive fraud spike to Stripe's automated risk model. It's crazy, but growing too fast, especially without warning Stripe beforehand, can literally freeze your operations overnight.
Then there's chargeback pressure. We're talking about elevated refund and dispute rates. Look, excessive disputes massively increase the processor's financial loss exposure. Not to mention, it threatens their own compliance with these huge network monitors, like the Visa Acquirer Monitoring Program, or VAMP for short. If you've got hidden fees, delayed shipping, or honestly even just confusing billing descriptors on your customers' bank statements, you're making fatal operational errors. You're basically forcing Stripe to cut you loose just to protect themselves from heavy network penalties. They won't hesitate.
All right, Section 3, the symptoms, warning signs of a shutdown.
Let's shift our focus to the early indicators, so you can be proactive rather than reactive in the future. And this brilliantly illustrates how Stripe actually communicates its unease long before they drop the final hammer. Ignoring these signs is a massive risk. So, ask yourself, are you suddenly facing mandatory cash reserves on your account? Are your payments frequently getting routed to manual review? Have you received weird new requests for verification or financial docs totally out of the blue? Because if you're getting dispute ratio alerts, refund rate warnings, or you're just noticing a sudden uptick in transaction declines with way more verification friction at checkout, the algorithm is watching you closely. You literally must act immediately when you see these symptoms start to stack up.
Which brings us to Section 4, Emergency Triage, your action plan.
I want you to really focus carefully here because we are delivering the actionable cure for a disabled account. Let's walk through this emergency checklist step by step.
Listen, prompt, highly organized action is literally the only way you're going to potentially reactivate an account. Okay, step 1. Stabilize your volume. Pause any risky ad campaigns right this second to stop any more sudden transaction spikes. Step 2. Export your evidence. Back up all your transaction logs, your customer communications, your proof of fulfillment. Do it right now before you completely lose access to the dashboard. Step 3. Triage your disputes. Get in there and manually resolve or just fully refund any obvious problem cases to stop this from escalating further. Step 4. Assemble a review packet. Gather up your product catalog, proof from your suppliers, and your standard operating procedures for fulfillment. Step 5. Communicate. Update your existing customers on any delays or refunds so they don't panic and file more disputes. And finally, Step 6. Document every single thing to build a crystal clear timeline for your support escalation with Stripe.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that you must directly link the exact cause of a trigger to the specific operational fix you're going to deploy to survive the review. For instance, if the trigger is not received disputes, the fix is easy. Provide undeniable, clear shipment tracking. What if it's subscription cancellations? Well, your user experience might just be confusing, so fix it by offering a dead simple one-button cancellation option. For category ambiguity, like if your products sit in a bit of a gray area, you need to explicitly state your industry right on your site. Volume spikes, ramping up new operations slowly is your fix. And for fraud spikes, driven by stolen cards or high decline rates, you've got to implement much stricter fraud controls immediately. The whole point is you have to show Stripe that you're actively fixing the root cause, not just crossing your fingers and asking for forgiveness.
Section 5. Code Blue. Common mistakes to avoid.
Now, we really need to pivot to preventative care. Why? Because in a sheer panic, business owners often take instinctual but incredibly destructive actions that make everything 10 times worse. I need you to stop. Panic can absolutely make a temporary shutdown permanent. Look, I know the anxiety is completely overwhelming right now, but if you act recklessly out of fear, you could easily jeopardize your future banking relationships across the entire financial ecosystem. So let's look at exactly what not to do.
You have to avoid these catastrophic mistakes at all costs. First off, deceptive classifications. Do not, under any circumstances, try to hide what you actually sell. Second is processor hopping. Jumping to a brand new provider without actually fixing the root cause of your chargebacks? Yeah, that just restarts the clock on another inevitable shutdown. Third, continued paid traffic scaling. If you keep running paid ads while your disputes are sky high, you're literally just pouring gasoline on a dispute fire. And fourth, using vague descriptors on bank statements to try and mask risk. Look, violating acceptable use policies through deceptive tactics won't just get you booted off Stripe, it's going to get your business blacklisted across the entire financial ecosystem. Please, just don't do it.
Moving on to Section 6, Long-Term Care, Migrating High-Risk Accounts.
Sometimes at the end of the day, the only viable solution is just migrating off Stripe entirely. And hey, we really need to destigmatize the high-risk label here. Being labeled high-risk is simply a structural categorization by financial institutions. It is absolutely not a moral failing of your business. So whether you operate in CBD or nutraceuticals, maybe you rely on subscription billing, or you utilize delayed fulfillment, things like travel or ticketing, heck, even if you're in regulated categories or run a high-volume cross-border business, please be reassured. Specialized solutions exist precisely because massive aggregator models like Stripe are simply not built for your specific, unique complexities.
Let's bring this all together by comparing your structural options. You've got aggregator models, like Stripe, which offer incredibly fast setup, generalized risk tooling, and essentially zero upfront underwriting. Sounds great, right? But the trade-off is this really high risk of sudden closure the second their generalized algorithm gets spooked. Now compare that to dedicated merchant accounts. These require deep upfront underwriting and a highly tailored risk assessment before you even get approved. Yes, they might require you to hold some cash reserves upfront, but they offer true long-term stability. Why? Because the provider has already comprehensively assessed and completely accepted your specific business model. No algorithmic surprises. Which leaves us with this final, really provocative question. Is your business built on a payment processor that actually understands your business model? I mean, if you've just suffered a sudden shutdown, the answer is probably no. So use this crisis as an opportunity. Reconsider your financial infrastructure entirely. Stop trying to force your business to fit into a generic aggregator's box and go seek out a processor that's truly tuned to your actual risk profile. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay resilient, keep your head up, and take focused action today.